You don't enter the billion-dollar mergers market by accident. You are pulled inside. On the first day, nobody explains to you the true magnitude of what is happening. You receive a badge, a laptop, and a spreadsheet that seems ordinary, until you realize that each cell represents millions. You are at the lowest point in the chain. Junior analyst, invisible, replaceable. But there, in that glass room, decisions are being made that will change entire companies. And now, you're a part of it. Not like someone important, but as someone who can make mistakes. And in this system, mistakes are not learning experiences. It's elimination. Level 1. System entry. You start small. Too small to be noticed, but big enough to cause a problem if you miss. Your job is to review numbers, update financial models, and check projections that other people have already built. Extensive spreadsheets, full of hidden tabs, nested formulas, assumptions you didn't create, but need to understand. You don't create anything. You validate. And to validate here does not mean to confirm the truth. It means ensuring that everything looks right. You quickly learn that time doesn't exist here. There are no real pauses, no room for deep reflection. There is a constant sense of urgency. Everything is needed yesterday, even when it involves billions. You begin to perceive the rhythm of the system, and he doesn't slow down for anyone. You gain access, not to power, but to information, and information in this environment is not neutral. She carries expectation, pressure, and intention. You start to see numbers that the public will never see. Overly optimistic projections, silent adjustments, assumptions that change according to the needs of the agreement. And even then, you don't react, because you lose the right to question. Initially, its function is not to think. It's about executing with precision. You learn to check without hesitation, correcting without asking, deliver on time. And the faster you adapt, the more the system pulls you in. The risk seems simple, but it's not. It's not about making obvious mistakes. It's about making an invisible mistake. A misplaced number, a broken formula, a misinterpreted premise. Something small enough to go unnoticed, but big enough to compromise everything later. And when that error appears, there's no way to fix it. It's just a consequence. Here, nobody teaches you that directly. You understand by observing, watching who disappears. Those who stop being called, those who simply disappear from the flow. To move up, you need to prove two things. That you are fast enough to keep up with the pace without lagging, and that you don't break under pressure. Because pressure is not an exception in this system. This is the default environment. Level 2. First exposure. Now you're not just reviewing. You start participating. Not as the protagonist, but as someone who can no longer be ignored. Your name starts appearing in emails. You are included in internal meetings. You hear discussions that previously only passed by you as distant noise. Valuation meetings, multiple adjustments, debates about projected growth. And for the first time, you realize that numbers are not just numbers. You learn how companies are translated into numbers. Revenue becomes projection. Growth becomes the narrative. Risk becomes an argument. Everything can be defended, depending on how it is presented. You begin to have indirect contact with executives. They don't speak to you directly, but they talk about things you helped build. And that changes everything. You gain proximity to real decisions. Now, what you do is no longer isolated in a spreadsheet. He enters into presentations. It becomes the basis for strategic decisions. It operates at levels where errors are neither tolerated nor visible. But along with that, you lose something. You lose your innocence. Because you start to realize that not everything is objective. Some numbers are adjusted. Premises are chosen, not discovered. Scenarios are constructed to support decisions that have already been made before the analysis even begins. And nobody says this out loud. You understand from the details, because of the silence at certain moments. Judging by the way some questions are ignored, the risk is now increasing. It's not just about making technical mistakes anymore. It's no longer just a broken formula or a misplaced number. It's failing. To notice when something is being distorted, or worse, to realize it and not know what to do with it. Because here, seeing too much is also a problem. You begin to feel the tension between what is right and what is expected. And the system doesn't give you room to resolve that tension. To climb, you need to do something difficult. To understand without asking, absorb without interruption, and accept it without reacting. Because at that level, what keeps you in is not just your competence. It is your ability to adapt to what is left unsaid. Level 3. First billion-dollar project. You're entering your first big deal. It's no longer an exercise. It's no longer an internal simulation. It's real. A merger process that could redefine two entire markets. Giant companies, enormous expectations, and impossible deadlines. Now everything happens faster. His name appears in internal documents. You are included in the versions that circulate among teams, directors, and partner banks. You cease to be invisible, and that changes the way you work, because now what you do belongs to someone. You learn how to build valuations under pressure, not calmly, not with time to test endless scenarios, but with short deadlines and decisions being made while you're still calculating. You learn to justify numbers that need to make sense, quickly, even when the base is still unstable. Even when there are variables that no one can predict accurately, you begin to understand that, at this level, the model is not just a tool, it is a structured narrative. And this narrative needs to be convincing. You gain relevance. Your opinion is starting to be taken into consideration. Your work is starting to influence decisions that go far beyond your position. But along with that, you lose something essential. You lose margin for error. Here, a poorly calculated detail doesn't go back for careful review. There is no time to rebuild everything from scratch. The error is not corrected. It is absorbed, incorporated into the model, and moves forward along with everything else, until the point where it can no longer be hidden. And when that happens, there's no more control. The risk ceases to be purely technical. It becomes structural. The entire model may be wrong. Assumptions may be distorted from the start, but nobody wants to admit it, because admitting it means stopping the process. And stopping is too expensive. You realize that often the question isn't, "Is this right?" but rather, "Is this enough to continue?" And that difference changes everything. To rise, you need to provide security. Even when you're not sure, you need to appear solid, even when you're operating on fragile assumptions. Because at that level, trust does not come from truth. It comes from consistency with the system's movement. Level 4. Contact with the top. You enter the room, not as the main guest, but like someone who can no longer stay on the outside. The door closes behind you, and the environment changes. CEOs, directors, board members, people who don't discuss possibilities, discuss decisions. They speak quickly, they interrupt, they skip steps, and most importantly, they decide faster than any thorough analysis would allow. You notice something immediately. Time here doesn't follow any technical logic. Strategic urgency follows. You learn that decisions aren't made based solely on numbers. The numbers support the claim, but they don't lead the way. What leads is trust, perception, timing. You see presentations being summarized in seconds. Complex models reduced to a single question. Does it make sense to continue? And often, that answer is already decided before the meeting even begins. You gain visibility. Now, his work is not limited to analysts and managers. He goes up. It even reaches people who don't know you. But they will use what you produce to move billions. And that changes the importance of every detail. But along with visibility, you lose protection. Previously, their mistakes were hidden beneath layers. Now, if something is wrong, it can penetrate those layers and reach you. And when it arrives, it doesn't come as a question. It comes with responsibility. The risk changes scale. It's no longer technical. It's no longer about an incorrect formula or a misplaced number. It's reputational. His name is beginning to be associated with the quality of what he delivers. And reputation at that level isn't built slowly. It breaks down quickly. You start to notice how people position themselves. Someone who speaks with confidence, even without certainty. Those who avoid certain questions. The person who directs the narrative without appearing to be doing so. You understand that, at this level, appearing trustworthy is just as important as being accurate. Perhaps more. Because trust accelerates decisions. And decisions move the system. To rise, you need to master this. You need to speak clearly. Answer without hesitation. To stand by what is being presented. Even under pressure. You need to appear trustworthy. Even when the system isn't. Level 5. The first critical doubt. She appears silently. It doesn't come across as an obvious mistake. It doesn't trigger alarms. It doesn't interrupt the flow. It's subtle. A small inconsistency. Almost invisible. Lost among dozens of tabs, hundreds of lines, thousands of numbers. A line in the model that doesn't close. An overly optimistic projection for the actual historical data. A multiple that, when you look more closely, simply doesn't hold up. Nothing alarming, but enough to be annoying. You realize, And the moment you realize it, that's the moment everything changes. Because before, you just executed. Now, it's your turn to interpret. And to interpret means to take responsibility for what you see. You revert to the model, double-check, test scenarios, try to prove him wrong. But the inconsistency remains. Discrete, persistent. And then, for the first time, the system puts you in front of a real decision. You have three options. Alert the executives, ignore the detail, redo the entire analysis. None of them are neutral. To alert means to interrupt the flow. Create friction, raising a question at a time when nobody wants questions. To ignore means to follow. Let the process move forward. To carry around something that you know isn't solid. Redoing the entire analysis means setting a new deadline. To expose vulnerability and potentially jeopardize the timeline of a multi-billion-dollar deal. You learn in that instant that the system wasn't designed for doubts. It was designed to close deals, and doubts delay deals. You gain awareness. For the first time, you clearly see the difference between what is right and what is convenient. But along with that, you lose comfort, because now every choice has consequences. You can no longer hide behind the run function. You know, and knowing puts you at risk. The risk is now personal. It doesn't matter which path you choose. You put yourself out there. If you raise concerns, you might be seen as someone who creates problems. If you ignore it, you bear the silent responsibility. If you redo everything, it could disrupt the rhythm that the system requires. And the system does not tolerate disruptions. You start to feel something new. It's no longer about deadline pressure. It's decision-making pressure. To move up, you need to choose. Not the perfect option, but it's the option you can afford. And to sustain means more than to decide. It means living with the consequences of the decision, even when no one remembers anymore that she was his. Level 6. Push to close. The deadline is approaching, not like a date on the calendar, but as a constant presence in the environment. The deal needs to happen. It's no longer a strategic possibility. It's a necessity. There's money at stake, a lot of money. Reputation is at stake. Entire careers depend on this closure. And power exists. Because whoever closes this deal rises. You can feel the atmosphere changing. Meetings are getting shorter. The most straightforward discussions, and the space for doubt, disappears. Fewer questions, more statements. Phrases like, "let's assume this," are starting to replace thorough analyses. Scenarios are no longer explored, but chosen instead. You notice something uncomfortable. The process remains technical in appearance, but the decision has already been made. You learn that, at a certain point, the truth ceases to be a priority. What matters now is not discovering the perfect number. It's about maintaining a sufficient number to justify the closure. And that completely changes the logic of the system. You gain indirect influence. His work continues to be used. Their models still support presentations. But now you understand that you're not just analyzing. It's becoming feasible. Every adjustment you make brings the deal closer to closing. Each choice of premise reinforces a direction. But along with that influence, you lose autonomy. Because you don't get to choose the path. You simply adapt the model to the path that has already been chosen. And the closer we get to the closing date, the less freedom we have to question. The risk is now systemic. If something is wrong, it won't be an isolated mistake. It will be an error integrated into the entire process. The model, the presentations, the decisions, everything will be connected. And when that fails, there will not be a single clear person responsible. But that doesn't mean no one will be held accountable. The mistake could be collective, but the responsibility will not be. You begin to understand how the system protects itself. Diluted decisions, implicit responsibilities, records that show only what is necessary. And in this environment, survival depends on reading. To go up, you need to align yourself, not with the numbers, not with pure analysis, but with the movement. You need to understand where the system is going and ensure that everything you produce points in the same direction. Even though, deep down, you should know that this direction isn't as solid as it seems. Level 7. The first bonus. The deal is finalized. There is no excessive celebration. There is no pause. But there is a time. A short silence before the next race begins. And then, he arrives. Your first significant bonus. A number you've never seen on your account. Greater than any reference you had before entering this system. You look, and you understand. Not rationally, but emotionally. You learn that reward comes before consequence. The system doesn't wait for you to ask questions. He will reward you first. And that reward changes the way you see everything. The sleepless nights start to make sense. Constant pressure is justified. The doubts become quieter. You gain status. Now you are no longer just someone who participates. You are someone who delivers. His name is starting to carry weight. People recognize his involvement. You are included earlier, deeper, closer to the core. But along with the status, you lose something you don't immediately realize. You lose ground. Before, you could still observe the system from the outside. Question internally, to create a separation between yourself and what was happening. Not now. Now you're too involved to ignore, because leaving is no longer just a professional decision. It's a decision that involves everything you've built up to this point. The risk changes again. He ceases to be a coach. It ceases to be reputational. Now it's psychological. You start to justify the system. Minor distortions become necessary adjustments. Pressures become part of the game. Questionable decisions become market reality. And you realize it, without realizing it, that it no longer reacts as it used to. To go up, you need to keep going, without looking back, without revisiting old doubts, without leaving room for questions that might slow you down. Because at that level, to stop and think, it can be more dangerous than moving forward. Final climb. You reach the operational top. Not to the top of the system, but to the highest point that someone like you can reach, without controlling it. Now you don't just execute. You coordinate teams, distribute tasks, validate decisions before they are implemented. You are part of the strategy, not as a spectator, but as an active part of the machine. You understand the rhythm. Anticipating movements becomes natural. You know what will be approved, even before it's discussed. And that gives you a dangerous feeling: control. You believe you understand everything now. Who dominates the process? Someone who knows how decisions are made. Someone who can navigate the system without being affected by it. That's the illusion, because the system doesn't depend on you. He's just using you. It works before you, and it will continue to work after you. And then, something happens. It's not abrupt. It's not an immediate collapse. It's a comeback. The old question returns. That inconsistency that seemed small. That decision that you supported. That adjustment that seemed necessary. Now she's growing up. It spreads. It connects to other parts of the model. And it becomes impossible to ignore. But this time, she's not just in the numbers. It shows up in the results. In the reports that don't match up. In the indicators that do not confirm the projections. The explanations are starting to fall apart. And you understand. The problem was never isolated. Is left over. The market reacts. In a cold, detached way. Without emotion. Without context. The deal that seemed solid is starting to show flaws. Projections don't hold up. Results are not coming. Expectations are starting to be revised. And when the market revises, he doesn't negotiate, he corrects it. Investors are putting pressure on. Questions begin to arise. No longer internal, but external. And external issues cannot be controlled. The siege begins. Internally, the environment changes again. But this time, it's different. Less communication, less alignment, less transparency. You notice it before any announcement. Silence, distance. Meetings are happening without you. Conversations are being avoided. Responses are being delayed. And then you understand, the system is reorganizing itself. The betrayal isn't explicit. No one is pointing the finger directly. No one is accusing anyone. But the decisions start to go around you. Documents are reviewed. Historical sites are being reconstructed. Narratives are adjusted. Your name appears where it needs to appear. No more, no less. Just enough. You become the weakest link in the chain. Not because you are solely responsible, but because you are the most viable point to absorb the responsibility. And the system needs a weak point. Because when something goes wrong, he doesn't correct the structure. He replaces the part. You leave. Not how it came in. Now you understand. The system of billion-dollar mergers is not about building value. It's about upholding decisions that are big enough, that they can't be reversed. Individuals enter, individuals leave, but the system continues. New analysts arrive, new models are being built, new agreements are reached, and somewhere, someone finds a small inconsistency. And you need to decide, because in the end, the system doesn't fail, he just swaps the parts.